Hello, my fantastic class. Welcome back to Science with Mrs. Bailey. Today we're going to be talking more about the skeletal system. And the last time we talked all about bones. And one of the functions of the skeletal system is that it helps us move our body. Well, there are these special things called joints, and those are the specific parts that helps our body move. Yes, go science. So what we're going to do today, it's something a little bit different, but I think it's going to be fun, is we're going to make a little booklet that's called Moving with Joints. I highly recommend printing this out. The way my PDF did it, it might give you 2 books to print out, and then you cut along the dotted line in the middle, but you only need 1, okay? And then you print that out and you can staple it together. I would highly recommend doing it that way. I think it's more fun that way, and in the long run, then you can use it later. You can color it. It's a fun little activity. However, if you would rather not print it out, that's fine too. You can also color coordinate and match the way that I'm going to show on here, since I obviously cannot print it out and then show it to you. If you print it out and you want to take pictures to submit it to me, that works great. Or you can do the online option as well. Totally up to you. But let's go ahead and get started. If you look on the title page, our title is called Moving with Joints. And it says by, and we are the authors. So go ahead and write your name in there. So give me one moment while I do that. And so by Mrs. Bailey. Now, my page is a little bit smaller than yours is, so please try to get it in that line. However, I understand if it doesn't work exactly correct. Obviously, mine could be a lot prettier. Eventually, if you want to go in and like color, some of it and make it a really pretty book, that would be great, but totally up to you. Great thing to do while you're stuck inside though. So let's go ahead and jump right in. If I look at the next page is titled Joints Help Us Move. This book is awesome. We're going to read through it together, and then we're also going to get to do some fun little activities along the way. So stay tuned for a bucket of fun. So the first title is Joints Help Us Move. You can go ahead and read along in your book as well, and I'm going to read it aloud to help me understand what's going on. So it says, you will find joints wherever 2 bones meet. They are what make the skeletal system flexible. Without joints, we wouldn't be able to move. Joints help us to move in different ways. Some joints open and close like hinges, and that means like hinges on a door that move back and forth. Some open and close like hinges, while others allow for backward, forward, sideways, and rotating movement. Joints are named by the ways that they move. There are 3 types of joints: immovable, partially movable, and freely movable joints. You will learn about each type in this book. Let's highlight that or underline it, whatever it is. It says there are 3 types. 3 types. I'm going to write a big 3 right there of joints. And we're going to be talking about those 3. There are 1, immovable, 2, partially movable, and 3, freely movable joints. You can see that. I'll also try to highlight them. Give me one moment. So we've got immovable, partially movable, and freely movable. Immovable, if something is movable, that means it can move around. But if it's immovable, that means it's probably not going to move very much or not at all. Then we have partially movable. Well, if you partially do something, you're not doing it all the way. You're only doing it a little bit. So partially movable, I would think that means it might move just a tad. And then freely movable joints, I would think those probably move pretty easily because they're freely movable. They're able to freely move a lot. So it says on the next page, circle the spots on the skeleton where you would find joints with a red marker. So in your case, you can get out a red crayon or marker or something to make those red in your book. Or what you could do is, if you're doing it online, you can use a red utensil. If you do not have something red, that's okay. Just circle it with a pencil or something to show me. I don't even know if I'm going to use red. I'm probably just going to use whatever my highlighter already is. So we're going to look at our skeleton. I went ahead and turned mine right side up. Yours might be horizontal though. That's okay. We want to look at the parts of the bones where we think there's probably going to be a lot of movement. Well, I'm looking right now at the arms. Can I move my arms? Yeah. Are my shoulders, they move? My elbows, do they move? My wrists, they move? Yeah. All of those things move quite a bit. So I would say there's probably joints that are in all of those parts. So I'm going to go ahead, see where the bones kind of connect. That's where I feel like my bones are moving. So that's what I'm going to highlight. I'm going to highlight right there on our bones. Right there probably. Yep. Probably right here by our legs are they're going to move. Our neck up there. We move our neck back and forth. Yeah, we definitely can. If you think about it with your head, yeah, I can move my neck, but you can't, if you try, you can't really move your head. The reason it's moving is from your neck swiveling back and forth. You can kind of move your jaw, but if you notice, it's like only on the bottom. So kind of your jaw, kind of. Not really your head. But that about does it. Also our spine. We can move our backs up and down. Kind of cool. If you think of any others, that's great too. But that gives us a gist of our joints, the parts of our body that can easily move and help us. Let's go to the next page. All right, so the first topic, it's our immovable joints. I'm going to go ahead and write a number 1 right by our immovable joints. That's our first type of joint. So it says immovable joints are also called fibrous joints. These joints don't move at all. I'm going to highlight that. They don't move at all. They're immovable. Do not move. Some joints need to be fibrous, like the bones that make up the top of the skull. Remember, we talked about that. When our head moves, it's not our skull that's doing the moving. It's our neck. Between the edges of the flat bones in the skull are joints of fibrous tissue. Fibrous tissue is also found in the jawbone to hold teeth in place. So interesting. Then it says to paste the pictures of fibrous joints from the last page of this book to the spaces. If you turn all the way to the last page, you're going to see a section, and I included mine already right here. It's going to have a section like that. It's the very last page of this document. So you're going to look at that, and then if you want a color match, you can do that if you're doing it online or on paper, or you can cut out and glue it in. Whatever works best for you. I want it to be as easy as possible for you. Do not stress, okay? If you need to pause the video at any time during this, that's fine too. It's kind of difficult for me to give the instructions and for you to be doing the task at the same time, so do what's best for you, okay? So we need to paste the pictures of the joints that really aren't going to be doing a whole lot of moving. Well, if I look in there, and I'm looking, so when I look down, I'm also looking at my real copy of my book too, so that I can make sure that I'm on the same page as you. If I look back in the passage, it's talking about the skull, and it's also talking about the jaw. So I'm going to look and see if I have any pictures that look like it's the skull or the jaw. What I see right here, I see this even looks like the star, and I'm going to change my highlighter tool color so that I can picture match. I think this looks like the skull, so that one's going to go right here. That's the skull. Then I also talked about the jaw. I see 2 pictures that look like it could be the jaw. Maybe later in the book we're going to use that one again, or maybe, oh wait, if I look really close, I just caught this too. One looks like it has a star on the neck, and the other one looks like it has a star on the jaw. Well, if we look back at our passage, the fibrous tissue is found in the jawbone. So right here, where it is by your mouth, I think that this one is probably going to be our other immovable joint. So I'm going to color that box yellow too. And there we go. Those are our immovable joints, the ones that don't actually do a whole lot of moving, but we need them because they have that special tissue in there to help us. So let's go on to our next page of joints. So this is our second one. I'm going to write a big number 2. This is our partially movable joints. It says partially movable joints are also called, big word, here we go. I'm going to do my best to pronounce it. Partially movable joints are also called cartilaginous joints. Cartilaginous joints, for cartilage. These joints move a little bit. They connect bones with cartilage. cartilaginous joints can be found in between each vertebrae and the spine. The spine is flexible because of each of the vertebrae are connected by this type of joint. Paste the pictures of these joints from the last page of this book in the spaces. And if you see, I have my last page right there too that we're going to be using. So basically these ones, they only move a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight that and go ahead and highlight that on your page too. They only move a little bit. They move more than the immovable joints, but probably not as much as the ones that are freely moving. Okay? And they're found in between each vertebrae and the spine. So it helps our spine to move. Well, it's not going to be any of the ones we just used. I'm going to change my highlighter color so I can match it a little bit differently. I'm going to make mine green this time. Okay? So I'm going to look, it talked all about the spine, ones that partially move. This right here to me looks like the spine. So I'm going to go ahead and color that green. Okay, and then this is one that might not be readily apparent for you, but this is the part that's talking about in between the spine. We're going to put that one right there. That's what goes in there. And what helps it? Partially move. And there we go. Let's move on to the next one. Also, I apologize. This video is going to be a tad bit longer because it's a little bit of a longer science lesson, but so much fun. So just hang in there with me. All right, last one. I'm going to write a 3. This is our third one. It is the freely movable joints. Freely movable joints are also called synovial joints. These joints move in many directions. They are filled with synovial fluid, which lubricates the space in between bones so they can move easily. So it's just making it move easily. There are 3 types of synovial joints. Hinge joints, which are like knees and elbows, pivot joints, which is the neck, and then ball and socket joints, which have hips, wrists, shoulders, ankles, and pelvis. And then it wants us to paste the pictures of these joints from the last page of this book onto the next page. So we'll get to that in just a second. Let's first figure out what in the world all of this is talking about. So first of all, a freely movable joint is one that moves in many directions. So go ahead and highlight that. These ones move in all types of different directions. It's because they have this fluid or liquid, kind of like, water, or I don't know if you've ever, like maybe your bike got stuck and you had to put a little bit of like oil or grease or something smooth in order to make it work better and move more easily. That's what these joints are doing. They have more water, they have more liquid that moves around so that it lets those joints move more slippery. Or maybe you've gotten your arm stuck in something and you've had to get some like Vaseline or butter or something to loosen it. It helps move it. It helps move it out. These joints have that liquid in order to move things more easily. And then there's 3 different types. So within the different movable joints, there's 3 different types. There's hinge joints. I'm going to highlight that. So hinge joints are like your knees and elbows. So like if you look at your elbow, it's kind of like a door. It opens and closes. It's like a hinge. It moves. Then we've got pivot joints, which are like your neck. Your neck, it can move up and down. And like your elbow, it kind of moves only in one type of way. But your neck, it mostly pivots. It moves from side to side. It doesn't really hinge in the same way your elbow does. And then your ball and socket joints. So those are like, excuse my highlighting, sorry. Those are like your hips, your wrists, your shoulders, ankles, and pelvis. Those all move so easily and all around. And what they have is a ball and a socket that allows it to move so easily, okay? So let's go ahead and go to the next page. And we got to do our activity. So we got to find hinge joints, pivot joints, and ball and socket joints. Well, it talked about hinge joints. It talked about like your knees and elbows. So let's see if I can find one that has our knees and elbows. And I'm looking at that star too. To me, I need to find, oh, here they are. Okay, so I'm gonna highlight it. Let's highlight it blue, okay? To me, in my little picture, this one has that little star in the middle where it can move like that. So that's gonna be a hinge joint. And then also, here we go. I think the bottom one is our knee and the top one is our elbow. Yeah, because I can see the little hand right there, okay? So those are our hinge joints. Then we need our pivot joints, the ones that move from side to side. Remember, it talked about our neck. Our neck does all of that pivoting. So, and I gotta look. Sometimes it's easier to look at. I look at mine because it's bigger than my little video up there. So it's gonna be this one. It has. Oh, I need to change. I'm gonna change my highlighting color. Let's change it to red. Red for the pivot one. It's gonna be this one that's on the neck. That's going to be our pivot joint, our neck, okay? And then the rest are all of our ball and socket joints that it talked about, like wrists, ankles, all of that good stuff. Our shoulders. So let's see. Okay. All right. So let's change our color. I'm going to make it orange this time. So here's a ball and socket joint. It's going right there. See, I'm looking. I think it also might be your remaining ones as well. This one. Yep, it is. Here we go. Color those in. Color those in. Yep. Cool. So if you see, that shows all the ones that we've already talked about. It talks about our hips, wrists, shoulders, ankles, and pelvis. So let's see. Yep. Hips. So this one right here. Hips. Shoulders. Ankles. Yep. Wrists. There we go. We got them all. Very, very cool. Alrighty. Now let's move on to the last thing. Now we need to summarize the types of joints, all three that we've talked about. And if you did that highlighting that I talked about, that's going to be very, very easy for you. All of these are within the categories we talked about. So for instance, this one that says fibrous joints, that one, remember, is an immovable joint. It does not move. I'm going to write it. Oh, I need a pencil. So it's an immovable, I'm going to abbreviate, immovable joint. The second one, that's the one that's partially moves. It only moves a little bit. And then our last one, those are freely moving. Those are the ones we just did. They move easily. They freely move. Okay? So what I'd like for you to do on this next part, this is the part that you can submit to me. I only need this picture right here. You can submit to me the whole book if you would like, but this is like the main part that I care about. I want you to write what each of these joints do. What is their function? And I'll do the first one for you. So for fibrous joints, the immovable joints, remember, they don't move. So I want to write, these don't move. That's their function. These joints do not move. Okay? They just have that tissue that protects them. Okay? I need you to say what each one of those joints, what their job is. The fibrous joints, they don't move. They just have that tissue that helps them. Okay? And then go ahead and give me some examples, and you can flip back in your book to give me some examples. The second thing, give me some examples of some immovable joints. For us, that was the skull. And then also the jaw. Okay? So that's what I need. I need you to summarize these types of joints. If you want to just send me this picture, that is fine. Or you can send me the whole book, whatever works for you. This is the part, though, that I want you to do on your own using the book that we just talked about and made, which is so exciting. And you got to do two things. You got to tell me the definition. What is it that joint does? That's number one. And then number two, give me an example of one of those joints. And they all should be found very easily in your book. Again, don't stress, take your time, just enjoy it. It's fun learning about the human body and learning about how God made our body so uniquely in order to make it work in the way it is, okay? That wraps up our science lesson. Thank you so much for watching. Have a super fantastic day. Looking forward to learning more science with you in the next one. This is Bailey, out, my friends. Later, Gators.